So we actually began this project on Christmas Day in Peace Park. We had temperatures of -12 during this cold snap. It started fairly simply with the loan, well, actually the donation of a propane fireplace from our friend, and the loan of a wall tent, and then the further loan of a market tent and tarps and other resources. This came out of a conversation I've been having with friends about what happens here on Salt Spring in the winter. When the weather gets rough, people become more isolated, and we have people who are insecurely housed or unhoused, and just scraping by. So for that week, we set up this warming space and made call-outs for donations and support. And it was a people-powered project. You know, the people who needed this were the ones who worked on it. So we put this together. We made sure that we could keep our propane going, make food, have company. Doing a fairly difficult week for a lot of people. Christmas week to New Year's. A lot of people have been isolated from their families. A lot of people are isolated here. So we had an opportunity to gather around the fireplace and keep each other warm. Out of that process, there was a recognition that we should keep going, because a number of things are happening on this island. You know, we have a number of crises unfolding, and one of them very definitely is mental health. Having this spot has provided a support network for people, a place where their shoulders can sink a little bit and know that they can care for each other and be cared for, feed each other, talk, discuss, eat. So the original warming space 1.0, we're calling it, went down on New Year's Day. And then we went through a transition period while we regrouped and thought about the resources we needed and tried to apply to find a better place to set up. So we have spoken to different agencies in the island, including the CRD. We've talked to members of the RCMP. A lot of friends have spoken to business owners, to Lady Minto Hospital, to community services. And there's some complexity around jurisdiction on public land. We were suggested to take a space in an open field right close to a resident, and we decided to move into an adjacent space where we were more sheltered and where we could try to, look after things like volumes and sound and presence and not interrupt the flow of people who use this public space, which include, dog walkers, visitors, and so on. We did give advance notice to the CRD about where we were going to set up. We didn't receive any denial or hard no about where we were going. I think there's a complicated process connected to that. So at this point, we're calling this Warming Space 2.13. This is the 13th day of our new setup here. We've got more resources and more support, more donations. There's been more work on the environment we're at. We've laid down new flooring, as we put it, to try and keep it from being muddy. So we've brought in locally harvested hay. We've got a new tent shed structure set up. We're still running off that original fireplace, the propane fireplace. And just recently we received the materials from Fairy Creek, some of the spillover, which is being processed now. So we now have a market tent, which is serving as our kitchen area. We have a card table where there are daily games, chess, magic cards, and more. And people are bringing in food, clothing, resources, seating, tarps, and support. We're at a phase of this project now that we're dealing with. Yesterday we received a visit from the local bylaw officer with a notice of removal, 72-hour notice. So our timeline is till Tuesday morning. I don't know if any of the local CRD had anything to do with this decision. This letter comes to us from the chief bylaw officer of the region, a guy named Mike Grew, who I'm hoping to contact soon. One thing which we have been doing is trying to work with the community. and different agencies, but also to impress upon them the need for this to happen right now. Uh, the support that this has provided has actually alleviated the pressures of a number of places here, including Lady Minto Hospital, where people in crisis have usually, especially during the Christmas and winter season, come in for crises management and so on. So their beds were alleviated by that, and that was encouraging to know. Our present community services shelter is at full capacity, 30 people at this point. And so there's people who cannot access that service anymore. We also have friends who have been denied service for various reasons, and so they've been taking shelter here. So at this point, with this notice, we're speaking as a collective with each other about how to proceed. I think taking this down is going to create a huge impact, and I would say an unfortunate and negative impact for our community. Instead, what we want to do is invite people to join us for a roundtable discussion about what's unfolding here. This would include, direct meeting with any of our CRD offices. I would like to invite the head, or the chief bylaw officer to be present. Like to talk to the RSMP, and we have had discussions with them too. Community services, maybe the Chamber of Commerce as well, Islands Health Authority, nurse practitioners, counselors. So we're aiming for Monday to do that, working hours. We'll put out some formal invitations and see who shows up. Meanwhile, we're asking people to come support us this weekend. This is a very key moment right now. We're going to be preparing food. People are bringing food. There'll be some of our musician friends coming. A lot of the people who are using this resource are musicians as well. That could be poetry, art making. We want this to be family friendly. Some of our friends with their kids are coming down just to get to know what's happening here and build some relationship, find out who your neighbors are. It's a tricky piece going forward, because we are on public land and we want to respect our neighbors. There's also recognition that, there's rough edges to this process. There's a lot of people here who are dealing with different, very challenging life situations, and we're trying to create support for them. And this is an interim phase where some of our friends hopefully will find stable housing soon. There's been a lot of anxiety around what's happening at the Seabreeze, though there has been an extension, as far as I understand, till June. So a lot of our friends who are going to be unhoused by Valentine's Day now have a bit of an extension. But of course, looking forward, they're still looking for stable housing. We have heard some positive news about a development on Drake Road, which will be ready by the summer. But between now and the summer is quite a few months. And today's a beautiful day, but it's winter on Salt Spring, we get heavy rains, and then sometimes we have other cold snaps in February. We don't know what's coming. But, at least here, something I had spoken to a reporter in the island about is that, we're looking not just at the outside weather, but the human weather. What can we do to support that and try to make it as gentle and harmonious as possible? So, again, I'd like to invite people to visit us or reach out in different ways of support. Our main needs right now is probably more structure, shelving, potentially another tent. We've been looking at a prospector's tent and seeing if we have a budget for that or if it can be donated. Simple resources like fold-out chairs and tables would be really useful. Lighting, any kind of independent lighting, solar lighting, battery-powered lighting, and more heat. If we could get more propane fireplaces, things which are fire safe, that's a key piece. That's why we're here at the warming space. That's how this whole thing started. So yes, please come and visit us. And on Monday, if anyone wants to be part of that process, we invite you to come join us as well. We'll be releasing some information through our Instagram page. If you look up The Warming Space, we might be setting up a Facebook account at some point. Yeah, come and take a look. Thank you.